In a world filled with religious texts, teachings, and stories about Jesus, one thing has puzzled both scholars and believers alike for centuries. Why didn't Jesus leave behind any personal writings? Despite being the central figure in Christianity, there is no Bible written in his own hand, no teachings on scrolls signed by him. But here's the intriguing part. Early church historians claim that Jesus did, in fact, write a letter. Not to his disciples, not to the religious leaders of his day, but to a foreign king. Today, we're going to dive into this fascinating story and explore the letter Jesus is believed to have written to King Abgar of Edessa. This historical account has been preserved through ancient writings, and the implications of this letter reach far beyond its words. Let's uncover the powerful story behind this hidden piece of history. The account of this letter comes from none other than Eusebius of Caesarea, a well-known early Christian historian. Eusebius was a key figure in documenting the history of early Christianity, and his work Ecclesiastical History remains one of the most significant sources of early Christian tradition. In the 4th century, Eusebius recorded the story of a remarkable exchange between Jesus Christ and King Abgar of Edessa, a kingdom located in what is now southeastern Turkey. But who was this King Abgar, and what was the nature of his connection to Jesus? King Abgar V, also known as Abgar the Black, was the ruler of Edessa during the 1st century, around the time of Jesus' ministry in Judea. His kingdom was strategically located between the Roman and Parthian empires, making it a significant player in the geopolitics of the region. Edessa was a bustling city, a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and trade, and its location made it a vital hub for the exchange of not just goods, but also religious and philosophical ideas. Abgar was a skilled diplomat, but he was also a man deeply troubled by illness. His health had deteriorated, and despite the best efforts of physicians in his kingdom, no one could heal him. At the same time, stories of a healer from Judea had begun to reach distant lands. News of Jesus Christ, a man said to perform miracles, spread far beyond the borders of Judea. Tales of him healing the sick, giving sight to the blind, and even raising the dead were whispered in royal courts and public squares alike. One of these stories reached the ears of King Abgar, who was desperate for a cure. But it wasn't just the promise of healing that intrigued Abgar. It was the growing belief that Jesus might be more than just a man, that he could be the Son of God. Faced with the incurable nature of his illness, and with growing curiosity about this miracle worker from Judea, Abgar made a bold decision. He wrote a letter to Jesus. According to the ancient sources, this letter was both a plea for healing and an invitation for Jesus to come to Edessa. In the letter, King Abgar expressed his admiration for Jesus' works and acknowledged him as a divine figure. His words carried both faith and hope. "I have heard of your great deeds, and I believe you are either God himself descended from heaven or the Son of God sent to perform these miracles." Just as King Abgar reached out in faith, believing in a power beyond what he could see, we too have access to forces that can transform our lives. Whether it's healing, spiritual growth, or even financial abundance, tapping into hidden wisdom can open doors we never imagined. If you're ready to explore one of these hidden secrets, one that thousands are using to attract wealth effortlessly, then you'll want to check out the link in the comments below. This method, leaked by a rogue neuroscientist, has helped countless people shift their mindset and unlock financial abundance. Now let's dive back into the incredible lessons from Abgar's story. In his letter, Abgar not only asked Jesus to heal him, but also extended an offer of refuge. The political tensions in Judea were escalating, and rumors of opposition from religious authorities had reached faraway lands. Abgar, seeing this, invited Jesus to escape to Edessa, where he would be welcomed and protected. "I offer you a small but noble city," the king wrote, "where both of us can live in peace." This invitation reflected Abgar's genuine belief that Jesus was not only a healer, but a divine figure with a greater mission. The letter from King Abgar was entrusted to a royal emissary who made the arduous journey from Edessa to Judea. In those days, travel was slow and fraught with danger. But the messenger, determined to deliver this message to Jesus, navigated the harsh terrains, crossing borders and political lines to reach him. The journey itself symbolizes a deep spiritual quest, one that transcends borders and boundaries, a physical and spiritual pilgrimage to seek out the truth. When the letter finally reached Jesus, the response, according to Christian tradition, was equally extraordinary. Early Christian writings, particularly those documented by Eusebius, claim that Jesus did indeed reply to King Abgar. In his response, Jesus praised Abgar for his faith and belief without having seen him in person. Jesus wrote, "Blessed are you for believing in me without seeing me." This acknowledgement of faith is a powerful testament to the idea that belief in Jesus transcends physical proximity. It is an act of spiritual conviction. However, Jesus explained that he could not accept King Abgar's invitation to Edessa at that time. His mission, he wrote, was to fulfill the will of his Father in Judea. "I must complete the work for which I was sent." Jesus wrote, "And after I am taken up, I will send one of my disciples to heal you." This response not only speaks to Jesus' awareness of his divine purpose, but also foreshadows the global spread of Christianity. Jesus promised that after his ascension, he would send a disciple to Edessa, ensuring that his message and healing power would reach even distant lands. True to his word, after his crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension, one of Jesus' apostles, Thaddeus, also known as Addai, was sent to Edessa. Thaddeus, following the instructions of his master, arrived in the city and, according to the historical accounts, healed King Abgar of his affliction. The healing of the king is said to have sparked a wave of conversion to Christianity within Edessa, turning the kingdom into one of the first Christian strongholds outside of Judea. This story doesn't end with the healing of Abgar. The arrival of Thaddeus in Edessa and the king's miraculous recovery had a profound impact on the entire kingdom. Many of Abgar's subjects, witnessing the healing, converted to Christianity, and Edessa soon became a pivotal center for the spread of the Christian faith in the East. The kingdom's location, straddling the borders of the Roman and Parthian empires, made it an ideal base for the early dissemination of Christian teachings, particularly in the region that is now modern-day Syria and Turkey. Moreover, there is another fascinating aspect to this story: the holy image of Edessa, or what is sometimes referred to as the Mandilion. According to later accounts, Thaddeus didn't arrive in Edessa empty-handed. He is said to have brought with him a cloth bearing the miraculous image of Jesus' face. This cloth, known as the Holy Face of Edessa, became one of the most revered Christian relics in the region. Believers held that the image was not made by human hands, but was imprinted by Jesus himself, similar to the later accounts of the Shroud of Turin. The relic was believed to possess miraculous powers, including the ability to protect the city of Edessa from its enemies. The Holy Face of Edessa would go on to become a symbol of Christ's presence and protection, revered by Christians in the region for centuries. The cloth's legendary powers and its association with King Abgar and the healing performed by Thaddeus only deepened its significance in Christian tradition. Some scholars believe that the Mandilion eventually became the precursor to later relics, such as the aforementioned Shroud of Turin, though this remains a matter of debate. As with many stories from early Christian history, there are questions surrounding the authenticity of this letter exchange. While the account of the letter and its miraculous aftermath comes primarily from the writings of Eusebius, some historians have raised doubts about its historical accuracy. One of the key points of contention is the fact that no original copies of the letter exist today. What we have are Eusebius transcriptions. This, of course, raises the question of whether the letter was a genuine historical artifact or a later invention meant to bolster the early church's authority. Another point of skepticism surrounds the language used in the correspondence. The letters, as transcribed by Eusebius, were written in Greek. However, during Jesus' lifetime, the dominant language in Judea was Aramaic, leading some to argue that the use of Greek casts doubt on the letter's authenticity. But we must remember that Greek was the lingua franca of the Eastern Mediterranean world at the time, widely spoken by educated people across the region. It is entirely plausible that Jesus, who moved in and out of various cultural contexts, could have communicated in Greek, particularly in a diplomatic exchange with a foreign ruler like Abgar. Whether or not the letter is authentic, its place in Christian tradition is undeniable. The story of King Abgar's faith, the miraculous healing performed by Thaddeus, and the spread of Christianity in Edessa have left an indelible mark on early Christian history. The city of Edessa would go on to play a crucial role in the development of Christian theology and become a center of Christian learning and culture for centuries to come. Today, Edessa is remembered as one of the earliest cities to embrace Christianity, and the story of King Abgar's letter remains a fascinating glimpse into the ancient world's interaction with the nascent Christian faith. The story of King Abgar and the letter to Jesus serves as a reminder that faith is not just about physical proof. It's about the inner conviction that can transform lives. Abgar's faith in Jesus, even though they had never met, led to his healing and the spreading of Christianity throughout Edessa. His story reminds us that our faith, too, has the power to transcend time, distance, and doubt. We might not have a physical letter from Jesus today, but we have his teachings, his love, and the promise that he is always with us. This letter teaches us another important lesson: the act of reaching out. Just like Abgar sent a message to Jesus in a moment of need, we too are encouraged to reach out in faith during our own struggles. Sometimes, the most powerful miracles happen when we extend a hand in belief, trusting that God will meet us where we are. Perhaps the most profound takeaway from this story is that miracles don't always come in the way we expect. Abgar might have hoped for Jesus to come in person, but instead, Jesus sent his disciple Thaddeus to heal the king. This reminds us that God's answers to our prayers may not always look how we envision them, but they are always right, timely, and perfectly aligned with his divine plan for us. As we reflect on the significance of this letter, we are reminded that faith is a journey. Just as King Abgar trusted in Jesus without ever meeting him, we are called to live by faith and not by sight. In our modern world, where everything is driven by evidence and proof, it can be challenging to maintain that kind of unwavering belief. But as this story shows, faith in something greater can bring about healing, transformation, and hope. So in those moments when you feel doubt creeping in, when life's challenges seem insurmountable, remember the faith of King Abgar. His story illustrates the boundless possibilities of belief. And like him, we can trust that even when we don't see immediate results, God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating a plan far more beautiful than we could ever imagine. Thank you so much for watching this exploration of the letter Jesus is believed to have written to King Abgar. This powerful story reminds us that faith can cross the boundaries of time, distance, and even our understanding. If you found value in today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need a reminder of the power of belief. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content that dives deep into the hidden corners of history and faith. As always, feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this ancient letter? Do you believe in its authenticity, or is the message more important than the physical proof? I'd love to hear your perspectives. Until next time, stay curious, stay faithful, and remember, sometimes the greatest miracles are the ones we believe in before we see them. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.